I have just seen the most boring movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's not hyperbole. I really do mean that. I have seen some terrible films in my day. Heck, I have reviewed some terrible films on this channel. But never in my entire life have I seen a movie where I just wanted to just rip my hair out because I was so bored. And this movie's 2 hours long. For general rom-coms, hour and a half, that seems to be the standard runtime for movies like this. That movie is your place or mine. Now, like I say all the time, every single movie deserves a chance. So I'm gonna do it some justice and review it for you guys here, but think of this review as more of a warning. So let's get into it. Hey guys, my name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I really do appreciate it. I was able to see your place or mine a few days early, and I'm here to give you my honest, no BS, non-spoiler review for you today and tell you if it's worth the watch. But like I said earlier, you know my answer. So hear this as a warning for you guys. But of course, make sure you stick around to the end of the video so that you know my rating of the film, or else you might be going into a film that might not be right for you. I think this film might work for a small group of people, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So let's get started. So Your Place or Mine is directed by Aline Brosh McKenna. If I mispronounced her name, I apologize. But this is actually her very first movie. She has directed some episodes of TV, like the show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, but she even wrote Devil Wears Prada, which is a fantastic movie. So, hey, sometimes writers do not make good directors, or you just had a bad story. I mean, I don't know who could have directed this better. But it stars Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher, and before I even go into the story, you know what? Let's just go into my overall thoughts of the movie and how they progressed through the first 20 minutes, because I think that sums up my entire experience with this movie. It's a gong show. So the movie starts. We hear Sweet Escape from Gwen Stefani and Akon. And don't worry guys, I will not be going through the whole movie. I won't be spoiling it, although there's not much to spoil. But you have your standard pop song, okay? Standard rom-com on Netflix. Here we go, no problem. But then we see on screen Los Angeles. How can you tell? And then when our characters are talking to each other, we see a lot of like gimmicky on-screen, like, oh, trucker hat, flat ironed hair, pointless earring. And I'm thinking, this is really gimmicky and extremely unfunny. We are in some very bad territory here, and it hasn't even been 2 minutes. But you see Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher in their college years, and they hook up, and then it shows them 20 years later. But they're not together, they're just friends. Okay. And I'm thinking to myself, are they ex-husband and ex-wife? Are they separated? Are they still together? Like, what's going on here? Are they in an open relationship? No, they actually just hooked up 20 years ago and are still best friends 20 years later. Now, right off the bat, I'm like, you know what? I don't buy it. And trust me, I have seen romantic comedies where a kid goes to an amusement park and he wishes that he was big. In Big. I've seen rom-coms where a guy gets struck by lightning and then he can hear women's thoughts in What Women Want with Mel Gibson, right? And I've seen rom-coms where a 13-year-old girl wishes that she was 30, flirty, and thriving, right? So I've seen rom-coms where the story doesn't make much sense logically. There's a lot of magic involved. There's a lot of otherworldly powers at play here. But I don't buy this scenario. Not one bit. They hooked up 20 years ago one night and have been best friends ever since. And they've been dating, and one of them has even been married since then. But yet they're still best friends. Yeah, in what universe? And even when characters go, why aren't you guys together? They go, well, I mean, I'm me and she's her, and like, I don't buy it. So of course with this scenario, you know exactly where this movie's gonna go. So there is no room for any twists and turns here. So you can only hope that our characters are likable and the story is engaging and there's some funny moments and there's some romantic moments. You can only hope that our simple and basic thin plot is elevated with some icing on the cake. Some funny moments, some memorable moments, just anything. This movie has nothing. So right away in the beginning of the movie, Peter, Ashton Kutcher's character, gets dumped on his birthday by some and she's like, oh, I'm not jealous of her. I mean, look at me. So that paves the way for him to be single. You know what's gonna happen. And then the intro starts, the montage where you see the director's name and you see the star's name and you see the title of the movie. And I'm like, this is just content. Now, I've been in film school for 4 years and I've been doing YouTube and working in the film industry for a long time. And I hear that word a lot, content. But this movie really does fit that mold. It's just content. There's no passion behind it. There's no energy. It's not cinematic. It's not artistic. It's nothing. It's just content. It's just some random you can put on in the background just for noise. And one of my buddies on YouTube even said, this movie looks more phoned in than Domino's Pizza. Very well done. And all this happens within the first 10 minutes of the movie. And I'm like, this is Not a good sign whatsoever. Let's just hope that there's some energy, some spunk, some pizzazz in this movie. Well, then you see Reese Witherspoon and her teacher friend talk about how she wants to go to New York City and she wants to get some schooling done, so she wants to be a writer or something like that. And I'm like, they're just talking. There's nothing happening on screen. They're just talking because characters need to talk in a movie. Like, that's what happens. So that's what happens in the movie. Like, you know what I mean? It's just so basic. It's so dry. It's so empty. I was bored already, and I'm like, if I did not have to review this movie, I would have turned it off right then and there. And throughout the movie, I'm just like brain dead. And there were a couple of lines that I'm like, oh, I'm still alive and I'm watching a movie, I guess. One of the babysitters got a part in a movie and she's like, I'm flying to Vancouver tonight. And my ears perked because I'm like, ooh, Vancouver, I'm from Vancouver. And then the movie continues. Like, if a character just saying a city name is the highlight of the movie, you are in deep trouble. So the basic story is Reese Witherspoon has to go to New York to get some schooling done, but no one can watch her kid. So Peter, Ashton Kutcher's character, is in New York and flies to Los Angeles to watch him. That's the movie. Then there's some like father-son bonding moments. The kid wants to play hockey, so Ashton Kutcher takes him to a hockey game. He takes him to hockey practice. And again, my ears perk up because I'm like, ooh, I like hockey. But like, that's the thing. The characters go to a Los Angeles Kings game, and that's the highlight of the movie. Oh, this movie's so bad. Reese Witherspoon has like this crazy neighbor who fancies her and he does her garden. It's so unfunny. It's like insultingly unfunny. So yeah, basically just copy what I said about the first 20 minutes of the movie and extend it throughout the entire thing. Literally nothing happens. Nothing happens of consequence. Nothing happens of comedic value. Nothing romantic actually happens. And it ends abruptly, even though it goes on for 2 hours. So the question you want answered is this movie worth a watch? Only to a very certain amount of people. I think people who would like this movie are women who don't normally watch movies, and they have all their friends over, and they want to put on a movie in the background, so they put on this because it's like, oh, Reese Witherspoon, it's the new Netflix movie. They put it on. No one actually watches the movie. Everyone's just on their phones, on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and then when the movie's over, they're like, yeah, that was good. And you ask them, what did you think of Your Place or Mine? And they go, yeah, it was good. And they don't remember a single thing about the movie because they didn't actually watch it. That's the highest praise I can give it. So for my overall rating, I'm gonna give this movie a 1 out of 5. I hated it. I straight up hated it. You can go on my channel and watch my worst video. You will have more fun watching that than this movie. So I highly suggest that you watch any one of my other videos next, and I'll see you there.